Hello, hello, Wally College family and friends. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to join us on today to learn more about changing the system. My name is Dr. Kiana White, and I serve as an assistant professor here at Wiley College. I also serve as the co-director of the Heman Sweatt Center for Social Good and Leadership. On behalf of our 17th president, Dr. Herman J. Felton Jr., I would like to thank you all for coming out and enjoying us on tonight as we kick off our Black History series. During Black History Month, the Heman Sweatt Center for Social Good and Leadership would like to shine light on all of those individuals who continue to work to change the system. It's because of the works of individuals such as our namesake, Mr. Heman Marion Sweatt, that we are able to enjoy many freedoms that were once considered dreams. It is Mr. Sweatt's work and Sweatt v. Painter that made it possible for individuals such as myself to comfortably attend law school and practice law. This month, our programs will focus on changing the system, where we'll look at various topics such as changing the system through rehabilitation, where we'll receive notes from Judge Amber Givens, changing the system through community involvement, and lastly, we'll take a look at changing the system from within. When we consider changing the system, there are many ways to accomplish this goal, but we must understand as a people that there is so much to be done. Today's installment will focus on changing the system through rehabilitation. While some may argue that the focus of sentencing should be on punishment, it is through rehabilitation that offenders receive the necessary tools to become productive citizens, which in turn makes for a better society. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over to one of our Heman Sweatt scholars, Miss Alicia King, at this time. Again, thank you all for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Judge Amber Givens is a dedicated public servant who currently presides over the 282nd Judicial District Court in Dallas County, Texas. Before taking office on January 1st, 2015, Judge Givens served as an assistant district attorney in New York and Texas for 8 years. She received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Tuskegee University and earned a Juris Doctor degree from the Syracuse University College of Law. Committing her entire career to public service, which is evidenced through 2 programs she has implemented since taking the bench, Judge Givens continues to serve in a capacity that provides the needed leadership to ensure justice and equality for all. Through her empowerment programs, which is designed to equip probationers with the necessary support and life skills to successfully complete probation. Judge Givens have shaped the minds of the criminal justice system for various members of the community. Judge Givens' public service extends beyond the courtroom as she serves on the adversity board of the Oak Cliff Boys and Girls Club and Dallas County Juvenile Board and the Adversities Board of the Dallas Women Lawyers Association, amongst other organizations. In 2015, she was elected as a Texas Bar Foundation Fellow, which is the highest honor bestowed upon a member of the Texas State Bar. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Judge Amber Givens.
All right, well, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm like, who is she? I like her. No, so you all, I have the pleasure of serving you as the presiding judge of the 282nd Judicial District Court. I think it's important to understand why people do what they do. We all have a passion, we all have a purpose. And for me, it's that passion and purpose that really has shaped my view and my vantage point from the bench, right? And so I'm one of 7 children, and my oldest brother was incarcerated twice. At the age of 8, I decided, instead of running from a system that had changed my entire life, that I would actually be a part of that system, right? And having the life experience that I've had, hope that I could serve my community in a way that was all encompassing. And so with that being said, I think people know that when someone is sentenced with a crime, part of their punishment is being removed from society, right? But they forget about the impact it has on the family members. They forget about, really the sentence is removal from society, but then once people get out, they are still punished because there's so many hurdles that they have to jump over to make sure that they are reacclimated into society in hopes that that stain on their background won't continue to follow them. And so serving as a felony judge, I preside over everything from enhanced theft to capital murder cases. And I wanted to make sure that I created a program to serve the people that I saw needed my help the most. And it was 6 months into my first year on the bench, and I saw that people on felony probation were failing. And it wasn't because they were begging, to have a motion filed on them or begging for the state to ask them to send them to the penitentiary. It was really because of a lack of resources and even just a lack of what most of them have described as a lack of self-worth, thinking that they didn't deserve a second chance or a third chance. And so I identified a group of people. What I saw that they had in common, a lot of them did not have GEDs or high school diplomas. They had very little family support, and a number of them also had drug addiction issues. And so I got together with the field officers, and food to me bridges all kinds of gaps. So I fed my field officers, and I gave them a questionnaire. I just wanted to know if I was on the right track, because these are the individuals that actually check in with the probationers once a month. And so once I finished the meeting with them, I realized I was on track, that these people that I had identified really did need the additional help. And with that help, could succeed on the probation and finish and be, a part of our community, which is what they should be. And so the first class was a 6-month class. And so I was doing 2 programs a month. Let me tell you how the program was structured. So the idea was, there's too big of a gap between the courthouse and the community, right? Oftentimes people think that if they never have a family member that's charged with an offense or themselves, that there's nothing in the criminal justice system for them, but truly there is. Beyond service on juries and grand juries, there's this idea of social responsibility and the fact that we're all responsible for each other's success. We're all linked together, whether we like that or not. And so I identified a group of people that I felt needed my help, that were on felony probation. And then I reached out to the community and said, I really need mentors. And so in the program, the mentees are on probation and the mentors are members from the community. And so I found doctors, lawyers, pastors, counselors that were willing to donate their time. And so both groups fill out questionnaires, because I really want to pair people with someone that I think they can identify with. And so we start the program initially is an orientation. So I'm just walking them through, explaining what the program is, because most people don't ever want to come down to the courthouse when a judge calls them, right? And so they come initially to walk through the orientation, and then they're paired with their mentor, and then the work begins. And there are a number of things that we take for granted. Getting a job. It's one of the conditions of probation, but people kind of like haphazardly say that, like, you need to get a job. But if you're on probation and maybe you've previously been incarcerated, if you don't have a license, prior to the 2019 legislature, there were fees associated with certain crimes. And fees that were attached to your driver's license. So whether you were eligible to get a license or not, depending upon did you pay those fees. And so DPS will come in and identify what they needed, because we all know how hard it is. You wait for hours down there and then you figure out that you don't have everything you need. So they were coming in literally with their computers, not to arrest anybody, just to really help identify what the individuals needed to take to DPS to get their license back, and or introduce them to the indigency program, which prior to the law changing, there was a program where if you had all these fees associated with your driver's license and you couldn't get it back, they would waive a portion of those fees. So they truly donating their time and helping with that first hurdle. Because in Texas, our public transportation is not, it's not New York. So you really do need a license. So that's one of the first things we do. And then the Social Security Administration comes in. So this is the idea of we're dealing with the very practical things to help them start on the journey. And beyond that, someone from SMU and a couple of other career centers came in, and Dallas community colleges, and helped them write their resumes, helped them write cover letters, And we had a social media expert come in. We want to clean up that social media. People, are going to search you if you're looking for jobs. So we're walking them through the practical matters. We're walking them through career advancement, and the fact that people think you have to have $1 million to dress nice. We're walking them through, dressing for less. And I'll tell you, I have found some really nice things walking them through that process myself, from Brooks Brothers. Even a $5 jacket that cost, maybe $250 at Brooks Brothers, because it was a Brooks Brothers jacket, but it was donated. And so making them feel as if, because they are worthy of taking these steps and working through whatever, hurdles or, what they may have deemed at one point as brick walls, working past those things. Then, Toastmasters even came in, right? The idea is it's really holistic. We're working with the whole person, because I think, as Ms. White mentioned, a lot of times people focus on the punishment end of things. In the adult world, there are two purposes for the criminal system: punishment or rehabilitation. And I think oftentimes the rehabilitation, the structure there is not such that it gives them the guidance that they might need. Probation officers work an amazing job, but when you look at the state of Texas, their budget has been cut. All right, so they are short-staffed and they do the best that they can. But when you have a number of people reporting to you monthly, you don't have that one-on-one time really to walk them through things like getting a bank account set up. That's another thing that we do. We are dealing with their financial aspect as well. We teach them, we have bankers come in and teach them how to budget. Oftentimes people think if they don't have $1 million, they can't budget. You can budget $500 a month and make it stretch. And then teaching them, it doesn't take a lot of money to open up a bank account. A number of them express, when the bankers come in, we'll have a check cashing company. So one of the bankers literally walked them through an entire year of fees for a check cashing business versus having their own bank account. And I mean, they were astonished. And so we also help them with feeling like they have something to offer, because they do, but you can tell someone that and then you can show someone that. So there is a shelter here in Dallas called Dallas Life, and it's a homeless shelter, and men, women, children reside there. And a lot of, I get quotes after they serve, because they serve a number of times through the now 10-month program. And it's very humbling, because prior to the service, they are feeling really down on themselves because they have a lot of struggles in life. After their service at Dallas Life, they come out saying, gosh, Judge, I feel like I made that person's day. They said I served them well with a smile, and that meant everything to them. Or seeing that mother of 6 who arrived late to dinner with her 6 kids and having to tell them, look, there are cookies and carrots left. That's what you're going to eat. He said that was so humbling, because they realized that them standing there serving with a smile made somebody's day, and also just really reevaluating their status. And so for me, the program has been about addressing everything that I know as a family member of someone that's previously been incarcerated, and seeing as a judge what I know people are consistently struggling with, even health insurance for that matter. Texas A&M has a dental program that provides free dental services. So it's about hooking people up with resources. We have so many resources, so many nonprofits that are doing amazing things, but people don't know that the nonprofit exists, or they don't know that the organization provides whatever service. So a part of what I do, not only in the empowerment program, but on a day-to-day basis with my probationers, I have a list of employers that hire people with felony backgrounds, because that's important, right? I work with cornbreadhustle.com. If you all have never heard of it, it's an amazing, they have a really nice IG. It's Cornbread Hustle. They work on identifying employment opportunities for people that have previously been incarcerated, training sessions, all sorts of things. And they regularly update their IG and their website. They even have a link to housing resources. We know that's another issue that people face once they've previously been incarcerated or even on probation. And so it's about linking them with resources. A number of the mentees in my program never had their teeth cleaned. Kids have never had their teeth cleaned. So we're literally embracing them as a person, because I think oftentimes people are identified as subjects once they've been charged with an offense, pled to an offense. And so the program, by graduation, we're all a family. And I'll talk about what the graduation looks like, but we do all these things. It's a once a month program. And when I tell you we're at the courthouse till like 9, 10 o'clock sometimes, we are, because we are hashing out things. We are working through things, because it's not just about the presentations. It's about their work with their mentee, or excuse me, with their mentor, the other 3 weeks. And so I don't do a graduation at the courthouse because I feel like nobody wants to come down to the criminal courthouse. I do the graduation at City Hall in the Flag Room in Dallas, and it's beautiful. The venue is important because I want them to feel, because they have achieved a great thing. And their family's invited, and we have really good food. I'm trying to think of the restaurant that's at Maggiano's. We have Maggiano's, we have cake. We really celebrate them because it's I'm sorry, Miss White, my background is getting dark. I see that. I'm sorry. Can you give me 1 second? I'll be right back. I apologize. Okay, Ms. White, I hope that's better. Okay, that is much better. Okay. But we really celebrate. Thank y'all for your patience. We really celebrate with them. And at the end of the program, depending on what type of probation they accepted when they took their plea, if it's deferred, they get early release. If it is straight probation, then they get judicial clemency, which is akin to a pardon from the governor. It's as if the indictment was never handed down by the grand jury. Any impediments associated with the conviction are immediately wiped clean. And so they worked hard and they're rewarded. And the idea is that when they succeed, we all succeed. We separate ourselves for some reason from people who have been in the system, but just because they've been in the system doesn't mean that that's who they are. And so appreciating that, we're creating generational change through this program. And I'll give you just a quick story about what I mean by that. So there was a young man, Carlos, who graduated from the program, but was still working on his GED. And he had his wife call and invite me to the graduation. And I think she was shocked that I showed up. So I walked in and she's like, Judge showed up. So she comes, sits next to me. And after their ceremony, we're outside and they're taking their commencement photos. And his daughter is there. And she runs up to her dad, takes his cap off of her head. And I wish I had my picture ready. I didn't know I was going to tell this story. But she runs up to him, takes his cap off and puts it on her head. And she's 3. It was the look in her eyes that she knew this was major for her dad. And dad had that confidence. And then to circle back and find out his wife hadn't graduated from high school either, but was enrolling in the same GED program that he just graduated from. And that's the Aberg Literacy Center. And the amazing thing about them is that they offer free childcare. And I just, bless, God is good. He has, given me these great community partners who donate their time and their services. And so the Aberg Literacy Center has worked with me since 2015. And that's what I mean when I say generational change, that, I don't know if they would have gone through the programs had it not been for the empowerment program and for his great mentor. But we're changing what rehabilitation looks like. It's not simply you sign probation paperwork and you meet with somebody once a month. No, we want to change your life in a way that moves you from what society has said you can do, you can achieve who you are, to a person, you know what, you may have made a mistake. And that's okay. But that does not define the rest of your life. And so true rehabilitation, looking at the entire person, not just saying, oh, we need a UA from you once a month. That's not it. So etiquette classes even. Gosh, I don't know how I missed that, because that's one of my favorite parts of the class. Once we are working with you about dressing for less and getting you a LinkedIn profile set up and your resume and cover letter, we want you to have a career and not just a job. And we want you to create a relationship with your employer such that you can go to dinner with your employer or lunch with your employer and not be concerned about which fork to use, or is my cup on the right or the left, right? We want you to be focused on building that relationship. So we walk them through an etiquette class, and it's so much fun because it's things that, a lot of us don't know. What do you do with the napkin when you get up and you want to indicate to the server that you're not finished with your meal? Some of y'all don't know. I'm not going to tell you the answer either. But really walking them through and not just directing them. We're on the journey with them. Myself, the probation staff, the mentors, the community partners, and the community partners come to the graduation too, because they are a necessary part. I couldn't do this without them. The program was created by myself. No one handed it down to me. No one funded it. I personally funded it out of my own pocket, and I do not get reimbursed from the county. And luckily, the community partners volunteer their time and services. So the materials for the books and things like that I pay for, but the speakers that come in are 100% free, and they offer their services for free. So I'm grateful, and I'm blessed to be in a position to do this and to appreciate why it's so necessary. Because I truly believe that if my brother had access to these resources, or someone felt that there was more than, punishment as an option, and I didn't tell you all that story. So my brother had a drug addiction and, is still managing. And instead of the judge saying, this is his first time, let's offer some type of, help, my brother immediately went to the penitentiary. And so, I think that crushed me even at 8. And it's something that I'll never forget. I think it's why, instead of making lots of money at, I got an offer. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, Anheuser-Busch General Counsel. Instead of going there, I decided at a very young age that this was something that I was going to do because it matters. And I don't want to talk at y'all. I'm wondering if it can be, at this point, I'm open for any questions. And y'all can ask me anything about the program, anything about the future of the program even. I'm open to those questions. So I'd love to hear from y'all.
Yes, ma'am. First, I want to say that the program that you have is very amazing. I truly love, what you stand for and what you are doing for people who do feel like, they don't have a second chance, and you, by giving them that, it just allows them to have some type of faith. So I would say I truly love that, especially for me. I am an early childhood education major, and I want to be more than just a teacher. I want to be more than just someone who is teaching the curriculum, but somebody that students can lean on, because kids do go through things, and kids do have personal issues that they don't talk about. So I can definitely say that your situation is very inspiring to somebody young like myself, to just be able to go out and help people who feel hopeless. But my question is, what can you say was the most difficult part about bringing your project together?
I think the fact that it had never been done before. People think that solutions, the only solutions that work are the cookie cutter ones. Oh, someone's done this before, and you just, tweak it a little bit. And so I think selling it initially to people, it's like, no, who's heard of the empowerment program? Like nobody's heard of it. It's new. It's the first one ever. So I think sometimes you cannot be discouraged by the fact that you're doing something new. If 2020 didn't teach us anything else, it's that this system has a lot of space for change to happen. So don't be discouraged. I would say that was probably the biggest hurdle. And once I got over that, it's like, I'm finding people, initially it was the cost. Like people were like, we've never heard of it. How are you going to pay for it? And for me, because, and I don't know everybody's religious beliefs, but I have to give glory and honor to my God because he's the one that put me in the position. I was like, God, you gave this idea to me. I'm sure you were going to find a way. And, he did, because that was the question. Funding, who's going to fund it? It's not run by the state. So don't be afraid to have an original idea. Don't be afraid to keep walking down the path to achieve whatever goal you've set for yourself, even though there are naysayers on both sides. Keep walking, because when you're on the right path, you don't need 50 million cheerleaders. You can be your own cheerleader. So I would say that was probably the most difficult, but now that I look back at it, I'm like, God provided me with everything I needed. I paid for the initial books and materials like that I created myself. So curriculum even, and it's funny you asked me that, and that was the hardest part. Then I ended up presenting at a national conference for probationers and parole officers. They want to copy my program and use it around the country. So it was funny, when I was presenting in California to the organization, and I thought, wow, if I had let a naysayer, control how I thought about the creation of this program, I wouldn't be here today. And the many lives that I know have been positively impacted by the program, wouldn't have had those opportunities. So just a note to young people, Martin Luther King and my soror, they were so young. They were under 30. MLK was under 30 when he was making and creating all this change. Stop letting people tell you that you're too young to create change. You're not. Okay? You can be whatever age, as long as it is planted in purpose, you can do whatever. So I think for young people, don't wait until your 30s and 40s to say, oh, now's my time. No, it's your time now. If you have a purpose and you are focused on whatever that is, go for it. Don't let somebody discourage you because you're young.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I wanted to follow up. So I've actually had the privilege of watching one walk up to you at an event to say, Judge Givens, like you changed if it wouldn't have been for you. So knowing all of that, I want to know next regarding rehabilitation, like where do you see Judge Givens moving forward? Because me knowing Judge Givens, I know that was only the beginning, and how will we moving forward as far as like the individuals who are incarcerated that's not on probation?
Wow. I know that this is the beginning. I don't know where God is leading me, what ideas, it's so, every time he gives me a really good idea, I'm like, wow, God, you are like the best marketing partner ever. You come up with the best ideas. Thank you for planting them in me. I will tell you this. It's not, like you said, it's not just about people on probation. I will tell you that I, along with 3 other colleagues, have created a program called Pipeline of Possibilities. And my Pastor Carter at Concord, played a clip from 13th. And I did AmeriCorps before I went to law school. So I went back home in the inner city schools in St. Louis and taught for a year before going to Syracuse. And it was there that I learned that they were using 3rd grade reading scores to determine how many prison beds that they needed. And it's still true today. And so the goal of that program is to disrupt the pipeline from the schools to the prisons by educating the children about the criminal justice system. And so I would tell everybody that's watching this tonight, you don't have to be a judge to create change in the criminal justice system. You can be a resident of a county, which all of you are, and have an idea, know that there's a problem, have identified the problem, and say, you know what? I'm either going to go to my legislature, and you don't have to know how to write a bill. They have staff that will do that. All you have to do is present the idea to them. And I've done that on the bench as well. Do that. Or even if you don't have kids in your local school district, you're paying taxes, right, that feed into those schools. Go to those school board meetings. So each of us have a space in this world where we can create positive change. And so for me, it's been, okay, well, that's for the adults. All right, well, what about the kids who got pipeline of possibilities? And then I thought, well, what about the people that haven't even been convicted? Are presumed innocent, right? So the Constitution says if you can't afford your own attorney, if you can't pay, you don't get to pick. That's what your Constitution says, right? But it says, you know what, just because you can't pay doesn't mean you don't get a lawyer. So it hit me when I was watching George Floyd be, his horrendous murder and the protest afterwards. In Dallas County, we saw lawyers, right? People who have taken the bar, who, the state of Texas has said, we trust you to represent people. We trust you with the safety of the community, with people's liberty. On Facebook, calling Black people animals and subhuman. And so I thought, wow, if you don't think someone is a human, how do you protect their constitutional rights in court? And this is just an example of what you can do in your own space in the world. Because in Dallas, we have a lot of exonerees. And if you talk to those exonerees, they're going to tell you that their attorney didn't listen to them, didn't identify with them, all these things. And so I thought, wow, you can't just be about criminal justice reform and sit by and let this happen. Now, have I ruffled feathers? I sure have. And I told myself, if my seat is not hot in this spot, then I'm not doing the right work. And so my seat's been hot since I took office in 2015 because I refuse to just be a Black woman in this space, just to say that I'm a Black woman in this space. I am from St. Louis, Missouri, and if you all don't know about it, Google it. Okay, we are serious about change in St. Louis. I graduated from Tuskegee University, and there is no way I would ever come out of my HBCU that I'm so proud of and sit by in this seat and just be comfortable. Enough is enough. Enough of just getting elected just for the sake of being elected. So I have definitely put myself in some hot spots, but I have been the family member who knows that you oftentimes rely on these appointed attorneys and you put your family, in their hands, and we put the safety of the community in their hands. And so I thought they shouldn't get county dollars if they don't think all people are people, because you don't just get to represent people that you look like or identify with. You have to represent all people. And all people, I don't care where they come from, what they look like, what their socioeconomic status is, all people are entitled to a criminal defense. And all people are entitled to a presumption of innocence. And so I created the first in the country an anti-discrimination policy that relates to your right to legal representation. And I was surprised that California and New York didn't have one of these policies. And definitely nowhere else in Texas had one. And so I say that to say, rehabilitation can look like a number of things. We need to rehabilitate the criminal justice system. And so it can look like creating a program for the youth. It can look like creating a program for people that have already pled guilty and are on probation. It can look like you going to your legislature, like I said, and saying, hey, you know what? I've seen some things about this or that on TV, and I really think that that's an issue in our community. Let's work on a bill, right? So I think it's about us being honest with ourselves and not saying, oh, I'm not directly impacted by that, so I can just sit back and be comfortable. We have to understand that we're all linked to each other and we all have a duty. We can all do something to make this world a better place than what we found it.
Okay, Judge. I'm so glad that you said rehabilitation is not just like the probation, and it's a lot more in regards to the criminal justice system. I believe that one way to, I guess, promote rehabilitation is to get out and vote for these like our elected officials. Like you said, we are putting the city in everyone's hands. So I know that we're talking about changing the system, but I want to let you guys know a way to do that is to make sure that we are putting people in the seats who actually care about people and not about what they can get or political gain. So I do believe that. I know that in Dallas, we are starting our early voting on February the 14th. I would love for you to join in, get out to the ballots, If you are not knowledgeable, you can log in and find out information regarding your candidates. I know ambergivens.com. They can find
Yeah.
out more information
Yeah.
about you regarding voting. And also, Judge Givens, I also wanted to just find out, like, how do individuals, if they had additional resources, how do they get in contact with you to share their resources? If someone's listening in today and maybe they want to take advantage of some of the resources, I know that you said Cornbread Hustle, Aberg Literacy Center, but is there any other way that they can just like go to find this information?
So, I had to like do it piecemeal myself. So I would say, I do have, and thing is, since the pandemic, so much has changed. So many organizations have changed. Some have shut down because they didn't have the funds. And so I would say cornbreadhustle.com is a great place to start because I think they pool resources together. And beyond that, if they have any to offer me, they can email me at amber@ambergivens.com. And I can also, I don't know if where you all are, if it's still snowing outside, if your street looks like my street looks. But when I'm back at the courthouse on Monday, because the courthouse is closed today and tomorrow, I will get that list and have my assistant send it to you, Ms. White. So if they want any of that information, even about, the clothing spots that we sent people so they can, find clothing for less, then I will definitely provide that information.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I don't have any further questions. Do you have any last words that you want to leave us with, Judge? I know you've dropped so many gems tonight.
No, I just, I would love to stay in contact with everybody. If you all have additional questions, I am a younger judge, so I do believe in social media. I think that's key. So my Instagram is at Judge Amber Givens. You will not be bored. You'll be so entertained. I do so much with my IG account just to keep everybody informed. I think knowledge is power. We most recently had a word of mouth series. That's one of the programs I've created as well. But we most recently had an event called Our Lives Depend on It. It was a voting rights rally. And so it was a program to make sure that people that have previously been incarcerated know that in the state of Texas, when you are finished with your parole, finished with your probation, that you can register to vote. Now in Texas, we have missed our voter registration deadline, meaning January 31st was it. But it's important that we check on each other's status. Just like you check on your family for anything else, voting is so important. And we need to make sure that we show up and show out. When they start making it illegal to pass out water at the polling locations, you need to realize how important your vote is, right? So I'd love for you all to keep in contact with me in that way. You can also visit my website at www.ambergivens.com. I'm all about staying in connection with people. I think that makes you a more relatable person that's serving the people, and it makes sure that you're not tone deaf. So you know what's going on, you know what the people need. And so I would love to stay in contact with you all.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming out, joining us today. Thank you so much, Judge, for joining us. As always, I love talking to you. I love hearing from you. Thank you, IT, Wiley College. Just thanks everyone for joining. And I'll go ahead and close out this session at this time.
Thank you.